Aloha once again. Welcome back. My name is David and this is the Seventh Direction. That means we are focused on going straight into ourselves. As defined by Native American shamanism, that talked about the 6 directions we know all about: north, south, east, west, up, and down. That leaves the 7th direction. That means into us. Following up on that direction leads you to some very interesting truths about the nature of you and about the nature of the universe. Those truths have been found all over ancient philosophies and wisdom. It is very difficult to dig into any serious philosophy of life and not find the common truth that we are beings of light. Since you exist, you are conscious, something is going on, you have some level of awareness. We just put those two things together. We are beings of conscious light. If we are beings of conscious light, what is the rest of the universe? What is God? What can we deduce? Using our power of reason, our higher power of intellect, what can we deduce about the universe and apply to improve whatever our experience is? These practices are also found all throughout different philosophies. For example, Buddhism is highly focused on meditation as a practice. And so when we are engaged in meditation, we are following one of the core tenets of Buddhism, one of the large religions on the planet. Hinduism focuses a great deal on the idea of reincarnation. So the idea that we are an immortal soul that comes back again and again and again. Now, again, within most religions, there are truths at the core, and the wiser you are and the clearer and cleaner you are, the easier it is to pull the core truth out and sort of leave the rest of the frou-frou behind. For example, there are some belief systems connected to reincarnation that think that if you misbehave, you come back as a frog or a snake or a rat or something until you improve yourself. That would require some judge. And in my experience, there is no judge, and in fact, many of the philosophies that discuss reincarnation freely acknowledge there is no hierarchy of the universe. And if, in my experience, the conversation
mother is currently having with herself about multiple sclerosis and how tapping into that energy did not turn out to be a good decision for her soul. Well, that seems fairly obvious from a human perspective, and yet she made the decision to do so if you follow along the idea that you are the one who is creating your universe. For better or for worse, you are pulling in what you desire. The question is, can you clean up what you desire? This is another example of where perhaps the strict interpretation of following Buddhism might not lead you to wisdom. For example, one of their basic tenets is that you must overcome desire. From my perspective, nothing happens without desire. God can't create anything without wanting to create it first, unless you think he just does everything happenstance by accident. In which case there is no real conscious guiding force to anything. It's just sort of the spontaneous generation of phenomena, as the Buddhists sometimes describe it. So you have to make a decision about how you interpret what you see in the universe, but from my perspective, God does not operate at random.
If he chooses to, that is up to him, but he would first desire to behave in that way. And so desire focuses you and allows you to manifest something, and then once you manifest that, you get to see if that's what you really want to manifest. You process it through love, the same way that God does in the yin-yang experience, and then you see if that's what you want. And as you continue to process that yourself through love, through lifetimes, you evolve and you get better. So you can get some of that from Hinduism. If you are an immortal soul and you are not contained by the body, then neither is anything else really, and so of course there would then be souls and spirits all around of not just your ancestors but the famous characters throughout history. Some of those shapes might not look familiar to us. There would be different kinds of energies, all kinds of different shapes and sizes. We, in the human form, we live in a universe of symbolism. So for example, in shamanism, animals appear, spirit animals appear. So some of you may have had the experience of having the feeling of a spirit in the shape of an animal sort of watching over you or present, or you may have had some interesting experiences after you see a particular animal in the flesh in 3D. So one of the things that you discover as you meditate, and then you discover you are an immortal soul, you discover that the universe is full of lots of different forms of consciousnesses. You can discover that through shamanism of a wide variety of forms, going to what they call the shamanic spirit world, where you have some encounter with these animal energies that are symbols of energy you want to be focusing on and bringing out of yourself. You can have those kinds of experiences through shamanism. As I've mentioned with Judaism, for example, the Kabbalah teaches you to train yourself to observe yourself as a creator of consciousness, that you are your thoughts, and that this whole internal process that you use to interpret everything that happens around you, the composition of what Castaneda would call your assemblage point of view, what the Eastern philosophies call your third eye. Remember, in the Yaqui vision, the Castaneda vision of the universe, we are all luminous eggs of light connected to this place, and on top of that floats this little eye spot through which we process information. They call it the assemblage point. As a consciousness, we would simply call it the point of view. This is where we see everything. It's our lens. It's how we shape things. And what we discover is that what the power that we are actually using to shape ourselves is consciousness. That it's the patterns that we get into as a consciousness, as a person. You can observe this for yourself, and in others, and if you can't just sit back and do it today, then go out tomorrow and verify it for yourself. When you're 18, 19, 20 years old, there's a pliability in the consciousness, and that pliability enjoys all of the possibilities of wonderful things that could happen, and there are many terrific contributions and visions and ambitions and dreams and ways of sort of manifesting yourself, life paths that you can envision that are all quite wonderful and fabulous. And then by the time you get to be 30 years old, without really having educated yourself that much more, except in, quote, how the real world works, suddenly everything is etched in stone. Suddenly you know how you want to be politically, socially, economically, in every way. This pliability is completely gone. And you are locked into a form of senility in which your patterns just lock in and repeat themselves. So as a being of consciousness, Kabbalah, found in Judaism, teaches you to train yourself in observing yourself as a consciousness and wanting to cultivate a connection to your higher qualities. So my point of running this litany, and there are of course others, Toltec with the 4 agreements that we've discussed, and Taoism, teaching you to be like water, can help you to go with the flow of life in different ways. There, Christianity teaching you that the purpose of life is to bring the Christ out of yourself, the full power of your soul, of your spirit. From the standpoint of consciousness, Jesus was a brilliant master of consciousness, and the things that he did because he had a very clear point of view on his connection to Source, and he was not locked into his vision of what was possible at any moment, and that opened the doors for what we now consider to be miracles, although, as I mentioned earlier, there are legends all over Hawaii of kahuna who did exactly the same kinds of things quite frequently that are now referred to with such reverence in Christianity. So from that perspective, these people were all approaching the same goal, which is mastery of consciousness, which extends through the body. Remember, we talked over the last couple episodes about how you are an ocean, and the only difference between your body and the rest of your ocean is that your body touches physical space. So as you master how you bring this flow of the rest of your consciousness, your soul, down through your body, actual physical control over your body improves. So, masters like Yogananda live very long time. Yogananda is a terrific person to make a reference to any time because he focused on what he called the householder yogi. It's very easy to go off and live in a cave somewhere and meditate all day and throw darts at the rest of society and what idiots we are. But to actually live in a household, have a wife, have a child, have a job, participate in your community, have successes and failures as you interact with all the other souls, that is challenging. That is where you can make a tremendous contribution. At the same time, you have to understand everyone else as a soul has the same power as you. And one of their powers is to say no. You have to respect their space. You have to understand what you can make an impact on and what you can't. Control is an illusion. Even if you think you're exercising it now, based on our understanding of immortal souls and karma, it's going to come right back to you next time. It's not real. It's a role that you're playing. You cannot truly have control over another little piece of God. There's no difference between any of us. That's what Jesus meant. I and my Father are one. All men are brothers. You shall make greater miracles than I. That's what he meant. We're all the same. Stop putting it on him. Focus on yourself. Bring it all out of yourself. He was one of many, one of the best for the lessons that he taught and the example that he gave. But his point was focus on you and bring it out of yourself. That is what going in the 7th direction is exactly, precisely. You are building that bridge every day between you and the rest of you and improving that flow. And everywhere you look around you, there are many paths to getting to this wisdom. You are free at any time to simply select the fruit that you like from the various trees you pass by. Discard what you don't, keep what you do, and use it to make your path in the 7th direction smoother. Whatever it takes. Keep going, it's worth it. I hope you're having a good day. We'll talk again soon. Aloha.